If your potted fruit tree looks like this, you're probably making mistake number 1 that kills most fruit trees grown in containers. Welcome back. Today I want to help you save your harvest. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the 7 deadly mistakes that slowly destroy potted fruit trees, and I'll show you exactly how to fix each one before your tree is gone for good. So, let's get straight into it. Before we jump in, do me a small favor. If you enjoy learning about gardening in a simple and friendly way, go ahead and subscribe. I share real mistakes I've made and the real fixes that actually work, so you don't have to figure things out the hard way. Alright, let's get started. Let's talk about the first mistake, and this one destroys more potted fruit trees than anything else. It is overwatering in the wrong pot. Most people think their tree is thirsty, so they keep adding more water. What they don't realize is that the pot itself might not be letting that water escape. Some pots hold moisture for far too long. Plastic pots trap water and heat. Ceramic pots with tiny holes barely breathe. And some people even use pots with no holes at all. When you combine that with heavy soil, your tree is basically sitting in a wet sponge. Here is what happens inside the pot. Your tree's roots need oxygen. When the soil stays wet for too long, those roots can't breathe. The water fills every tiny air pocket in the soil. Once that happens, the roots begin to suffocate. After a few days, the soil turns into a low-oxygen environment. That is when fungus begins to grow. Root rot starts quietly, and you don't see it until the leaves begin to yellow, curl, or fall off. By the time the leaves show symptoms, the damage inside the pot is already serious. There are 3 simple tests you can do in less than 10 seconds. The first one is the finger test. Just push your finger 2 inches into the soil. If it feels cold and wet, the tree does not need water. The second is the weight test. Lift the pot slightly on one side. A heavy pot usually means the soil is soaked. And the third is the water pooling check. Pour a tiny amount of water on the surface. If it sits on top instead of sinking in, the soil is already too full. That means the roots have no room left to breathe. The good news is that fixing this is simple. Start by repotting the tree into a pot that drains well. Clay pots and fabric pots allow the roots to breathe. Next, upgrade the soil. Use a light mix that drains fast. Add perlite or coarse sand to keep the soil airy. You can also place the pot on small blocks or an elevated tray. This lifts it off the ground and helps water escape more easily. Once you make these changes, the tree usually starts recovering in a week or 2. Before you water again, pay attention to the temperature. Fruit trees in hot weather dry out faster. In cool weather, watering slows down because the soil stays wet for longer. And here's a small trick I love. Push 2 wooden chopsticks into the soil. If they stay dry after a few hours, you can water. If they come out damp, wait. It's a simple way to check moisture without guessing. Quick question for you. Have you struggled with watering before? Let me know in the comments. I want to help you get this right. Let's move to the second deadly mistake, and this one is sneaky because it looks harmless. It is using regular garden soil in a pot. I know garden soil feels natural. It comes from the ground, it looks rich, and it feels like the right thing to use. But it behaves very differently once you put it inside a container. Garden soil is heavy. It compacts easily. The moment you water it, it turns dense and muddy. When that happens, there is no space left for air. And remember, your tree's roots need air just as much as they need water. Here is why this mistake is dangerous. Heavy soil traps water and holds it for far too long. The roots become stressed. They try to grow, but they keep running into hard, compacted soil. After a while, the tree stops growing new roots. The leaves start to look dull. Fruit production drops. In some cases, the tree dies slowly over months because the roots simply cannot move. So even if the soil looks rich, it is not suitable for containers. The fix is simple. Use soil that drains well and stays loose. You want a mix that lets water flow through it easily while still holding a little moisture. Look for potting mixes designed for citrus or fruit trees. If you cannot find that, create your own mix. Here is an easy recipe you can make at home. 2 parts high-quality potting mix, 1 part perlite or coarse sand, 1 part compost. Mix everything well and your soil will drain beautifully while still feeding the tree. And here's what to avoid. Never use pure compost, never use clay soil, and avoid anything that feels sticky when wet. Those always lead to compacted roots. Now we are getting into the most dangerous mistake on this list. This one kills trees quietly. Many people do not even realize it is happening until the tree is almost gone. Mistake number 3 is leaving your fruit tree in a pot that is too small for too long. This leads to root binding, and root binding destroys trees fast. When a tree becomes root bound, the roots cannot spread out. They start wrapping around each other, tightening and choking themselves. Water cannot reach the inner roots. Nutrients cannot flow properly. The tree slowly starves even if you're watering correctly. And once the roots form a tight knot, every new root grows twisted, stressed, and weak. This mistake is common for one simple reason. Fruit trees in pots can look healthy on the surface, even when the root system is in trouble. The leaves may stay green for a while, the tree may even produce a little fruit. So people assume everything is fine, but inside the pot, the tree is slowly dying. There are 2 easy ways to know if your tree is root bound. First, try lifting the pot slightly. If roots are sticking out from the bottom, that tree is overdue for a new home. Second, gently tap the sides of the pot and slide the tree upward. If you see roots circling around like a tight coil, your tree is root bound. If you see that, do not wait. Fix it now. Here is what to do. Gently remove the tree from its pot. Loosen the outer roots carefully with your fingers. You do not need to break the entire root ball. Just open it up so the roots can breathe again. Next, choose a pot that is 2 to 4 inches wider than the current one. Too big is also a problem, but we will talk about that later. Place fresh, airy soil at the bottom. Position the tree and fill the sides with your new soil mix. Press gently to remove air pockets. Do not pack it too tight. Water lightly to help the roots settle. If the roots are extremely tight, you can trim a small amount. Only remove the outer 1 inch of roots. Do not cut deep into the root ball. This helps the tree grow new healthy roots instead of continuing that tight spiral. Within a few weeks, you will notice a change. New shoots appear. Leaves become brighter. The tree stands taller. A healthy root system always transforms the entire tree. If you delay this, the roots will keep tightening until the tree starves. Most root-bound trees cannot recover once the core is damaged. So, if your tree is root-bound right now, please fix it today. It will save the entire plant. Here is something that makes a huge difference. When you repot, sprinkle a little mycorrhiza on the roots. It helps the tree absorb water and nutrients faster and recover from stress much quicker. Before we head to the next mistake, I want to ask you something. Do you want a full repotting guide for your fruit trees? If you do, just comment the word repot and I will make one for you. Let's move on to the 4th deadly mistake, and this one is very common. It is giving your fruit tree the wrong amount of sunlight. Fruit trees love light. They depend on it even more when they are grown in pots. But that is exactly where people go wrong. Some put the tree in a place that is too dark. Others place it in full sun all at once and shock the leaves. And some try to grow fruit trees indoors in spots that simply do not offer enough light. When a fruit tree does not get enough sunlight, it becomes weak. The leaves turn pale and thin. Growth slows down. The tree stops producing flowers and fruit because it doesn't have the energy to do so. It might look alive, but it is barely surviving. On the other hand, placing a tree straight into strong sunlight can burn the leaves. You'll notice brown patches, crispy edges, or even leaves dropping overnight. The tree is not dying because of heat. It is reacting to sudden exposure. It has to be trained slowly to handle that amount of light. And for those who grow fruit trees indoors, here's the truth. Most windows do not give enough light for fruiting trees. Even if the room looks bright, it is not the same as direct outdoor sunlight. A tree may survive indoors, but it will struggle to produce fruit. Here is how to get sunlight right. First, give your tree gradual exposure. Move it into the sun a little more each day. Start with 1 hour, then 2, then 3. This allows the leaves to build protection naturally. Next, rotate the pot every few days. Trees lean toward the sun, and rotating them helps the branches grow evenly. And the best time for sunlight is the morning. Morning light is gentle and steady. It helps the tree grow without burning the leaves. If you live in a very hot area, you can protect your tree from harsh afternoon heat by giving it a little shade during the hottest hours. A shade cloth or a simple umbrella works perfectly. A little protection during that intense period keeps the leaves healthy. All right, before we continue, I want to check in with you. What fruit trees are you growing right now? Are you working with mango, lemon, peach, maybe a fig or an orange? Tell me in the comments, because I want to make videos that help you with the exact tree you are growing. I read every single comment, and your answers shape the next videos I create. All right, let's keep going. The next mistake is one of the biggest reasons fruit trees fail in pots, so stay with me. Now let's talk about the 5th deadly mistake, and this one can confuse a lot of gardeners. It is feeding your fruit tree the wrong fertilizer. I know fertilizer sounds simple. You buy a bag, sprinkle a little around the plant, and expect magic. But fruit trees in pots react very differently to fertilizer compared to fruit trees in the ground. In a container, every nutrient stays concentrated. There is no rain to wash away the extra. So when you choose the wrong type of fertilizer, it hits the roots directly. There are a few reasons this mistake destroys fruit trees fast. The first is too much nitrogen. Nitrogen grows big, leafy branches, but when there is too much of it, the tree forgets to make flowers and fruit. You end up with a tall, bushy plant that looks healthy, but never produces anything. The second reason is using the wrong NPK ratio. Fruit trees need a balanced mix of nutrients. If the numbers are off, the roots struggle, and the tree cannot use the food properly. The third reason is fertilizer burn. When a strong fertilizer touches the roots, it can shock them. The edges of the leaves turn brown. Growth stops. In some cases, the tree dies because the roots were damaged by concentrated salts. Here is how you can tell what your tree is going through. A starving tree grows slowly. The leaves look pale or yellow. Branches become thin, and the tree might drop its fruit early. An overfed tree looks different. The leaves turn dark green and thick. The tips may turn brown. You may see white crust around the soil. That crust is leftover fertilizer salt that the roots could not absorb. Knowing the difference helps you fix the problem quickly. Fixing this mistake is simple. Start with a balanced fertilizer made for fruit trees. Look for something with even numbers, not something loaded with nitrogen. Feed lightly. In containers, small amounts work better than large doses. If you think you have overfed your tree, flush the soil by watering it deeply and letting the excess drain out. This helps remove built-up salt around the roots. A simple rule that works for most fruit trees in pots is this. Feed a small amount every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season. Do not feed in winter when the tree is resting. Do not double feed even if the tree looks slow. Give it time to absorb the nutrients first before adding more. Here is one bonus tip that can make your fruit trees explode with growth. Use a natural fertilizer like worm castings. It improves the soil, helps the roots grow stronger, and supports fruit production without burning the plant. You can add a handful on top of the soil every month. It breaks down slowly and feeds the tree gently. Let's move on to the 6th deadly mistake, and this one often goes unnoticed until the damage is already done. It is ignoring pest pressure. Fruit trees in pots get attacked faster than trees in the ground because the pests have less space to spread out. Everything happens in the same small container, and the tree feels the damage almost immediately. There are 3 pests you need to keep an eye on. The first is scale. These tiny bumps attach to the stems and suck the sap out of the plant. Your branches start to look dull and sticky because scale releases a sugary liquid. The second is spider mites. They hide under the leaves and create tiny webs. If you see fine webbing between your leaves, that is a sign these pests are already feeding on the plant. The third is aphids. These ones gather in clusters on new growth. They feed on young leaves and can stop your tree from producing healthy shoots. The symptoms are easy to spot when you know what to look for. Leaves may curl, turn yellow, or look shiny for no clear reason. Growth may slow down. You might notice tiny bite marks or small insects moving when you shake the leaves. If the tree suddenly looks tired or sticky, chances are there is a pest problem nearby. Here is how to handle it. You can start with a simple DIY neem spray. Mix neem oil with water and a little liquid soap. Spray the top and bottom of the leaves every few days. This removes most soft-bodied pests without harming the plant. Place sticky traps around your potted trees. They catch flying insects before they settle on the leaves. And do not be afraid to prune away heavily infested branches. Removing a small part of the tree can save the entire plant in the long run. Here is a small trick that really helps. Add reflective mulch around the top of the soil. The reflective surface confuses insects and makes it harder for them to land on the tree. It also increases light around the lower leaves, which boosts growth. A small change like this can reduce pests more than you expect. We are now at the 7th deadly mistake, and this one surprises a lot of gardeners. It is pruning your fruit tree like a maniac. I know pruning feels helpful. You see branches everywhere, you grab your clippers, and you start cutting with the hope that the tree will grow back stronger. But when you remove too much at once, you're actually shocking the tree. Let me show you something. Look at this tree on the left. Someone cut almost half of its branches. It looks clean, but it is stressed. Now look at the tree on the right. This one was shaped gently. Only a few crowded branches were removed. The difference in health is obvious. Here is the truth. When you remove more than 30% of a fruit tree at once, the tree goes into survival mode. It stops producing fruit and tries to rebuild leaves. A hard prune like that can delay fruiting for 1 or even 2 years. Some trees never fully recover because they cannot rebuild enough energy to support a new crop. Inside the tree, every cut creates a wound. When you make many cuts at once, the tree becomes overwhelmed. It struggles to heal, and pests can use those wounds to enter the plant. The fix is simple. Prune only 10 to 15% of the tree. This allows the tree to stay productive while still keeping a healthy shape. And always prune after the tree is finished fruiting. When you prune before the fruit forms, you remove the branches that would have carried next season's harvest. Focus on removing branches that cross each other, rub against each other, or grow toward the center of the tree. These branches block light and reduce airflow. A good prune opens up the canopy. It allows sunlight to reach the inner branches. It improves airflow. It helps the tree produce better fruit because the energy spreads evenly. Your tree should look natural, not chopped. Think of it as guiding the tree rather than fighting it. A few careful cuts are more effective than a full haircut. Once you finish pruning, your tree should still look full and healthy. If it suddenly looks naked or flat, you have removed too much. A light prune every year is far better than one heavy prune every few years. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a complete setup guide. Think of this as your cheat sheet for getting the best results from any potted fruit tree. If you follow this setup, you avoid most problems before they even start. Let's start with pots. A young tree does well in a pot that is 12 to 14 inches wide. As the tree grows, move up to a pot that is 16 to 20 inches. Mature trees can live happily in a 24 to 30-inch pot. The goal is simple. Give the roots enough room to spread without drowning them in too much soil at once. Next is soil. Use a mix that drains well and stays loose. A simple recipe is 2 parts potting mix, 1 part perlite, and 1 part compost. This keeps the soil airy, helps roots grow strong, and prevents water from sitting at the bottom of the pot. Good soil is everything for container fruit trees. Now let's talk about feeding. Give your tree a small amount of balanced fertilizer every 4 to 6 weeks during the growing season. Avoid heavy feeding in cold weather because the tree is resting and cannot use the nutrients. Slow and steady feeding gives you better fruit than dumping in large amounts at once. Watering is all about rhythm. In warm weather, water when the top 2 inches of soil are dry. In cooler weather, water less often because the soil stays moist longer. Always water slowly until it begins to drip from the bottom of the pot. That tells you the entire root system has been reached. Fruit trees need a lot of light. Give them at least 6 hours of sunlight each day. Morning light is the sweetest and most gentle, so try to place the tree where it catches the early sun. Rotate the pot every few days to help the branches grow evenly. And finally, adjust your care with the seasons. In spring, feed lightly and encourage new growth. In summer, water more often and protect the tree from harsh afternoon heat. In autumn, reduce feeding and let the tree slow down. In winter, water less and avoid pruning because the tree is resting. These small seasonal changes make a big difference. Before we move to the final section, I want to share a personal trick that saved my lemon tree. This simple routine helped my tree produce almost 3 times more fruit. Take a look at this. This is my 5-year-old lemon tree in a pot. It struggled for 2 years, then I tried this one weekly habit and everything changed. Once a week, make a gentle foliar spray with 1 teaspoon of Epsom salt mixed into 1 quart of water. Spray it on the leaves, top and bottom. This gives the tree a boost of magnesium, which helps it produce more flowers and stronger fruit. Within a couple of months, I noticed more blossoms, more new growth, and a much healthier tree. A little spray once a week can change everything. If you want more fruit, this is the simplest trick you can try. All right, we have covered a lot today. You now know these 7 deadly mistakes that quietly destroy potted fruit trees, and more importantly, you know exactly how to fix each one. Caring for fruit trees in containers can feel a bit overwhelming at first, but trust me, once you understand the rhythm, it becomes one of the most rewarding things you can do. Every little change you make adds up. A better soil mix, a pot that drains well, healthier roots, the right amount of light, a gentle pruning routine. When you put all of this together, your tree becomes stronger, your harvest becomes bigger, and you actually enjoy the process instead of feeling stressed. So if your tree has been struggling, do not worry. You are not failing at gardening. You just needed the right information, and now you have it. Give your tree a little time. Give it the care we talked about today. You'll be surprised how quickly it turns around. These trees want to grow. They want to fruit. They just need a little support from you. If you have any questions or if your tree has a specific problem that you want me to look at, tell me in the comments. I answer as many as I can, and your questions help me choose what videos to make next. And if you enjoyed this video or if it helped you even a little bit, go ahead and subscribe. I share simple gardening tips every week, and I would love to have you join the community. Now, if you want to take your container garden even further, watch the next video on your screen. It is all about the fruit trees that thrive in pots and small spaces. If you're looking for ideas on what to grow next, or you want fruit trees that actually perform well in containers, that video will help you choose the perfect ones. Tap it now, and I will see you there.